Oh. Hello everybody, my name is Austin Randolph. A couple of quick things to get out of the way before we get into the meat and potatoes. Well, we're talking about a Fender Player Strat, obviously, today. But if you like what you hear today, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, interact with the video. Papa YouTube likes interaction and engagement, so, feel free to do so. Next on the priority list, down below in the description, I'm going to have Sweetwater links for the amplifier I'm using, and then obviously the guitar I'm playing. So the Fender Player Series Stratocaster. If you've been thinking about pulling the trigger on one, then this is an opportunity to do so with, frankly, the best online instrument retailer in the States. Maybe Canada and Mexico too. I don't live there, so I'm not sure. And last but not least, somebody asked me a couple videos ago what watch I was wearing, and I thought that was fun. So today, oh God, you can't really see that. This is a Timex Waterbury chronograph that it actually was kind of hard to find in this color. It's kind of like a, vintagey racing kind of thing, but there you go. And before I start, just a little disclaimer. I'm going to try to keep the audio of me playing the guitar at the beginning of the video kind of brief. Specifically because I don't want you guys to use that sound like, oh, wow, this guitar and this amp sound great, when that's not really, the pickups are not stock. I don't know if you can see on there, but this has a pair of Fender vintage noiseless pickups in it, but I'll get into that in a little bit, and I'll get into how that is actually kind of one of the bigger perks about choosing the Fender Player Series over other mid-price Strat guitars. And included with the description, let me rephrase, the Sweetwater link I'm going to put for the guitar in the video. Right now, a couple of the finishes in the Player Series Stratocaster with a Pal Ferro board, if that's kind of your look. They have a special 10% off going on right now for, it looks like, the Sunburst and the black one. So it brings it down to $679.99, which is a killer price for these. So if you're thinking about it, take advantage of that. So Player Series. It's been hard to find a YouTube video talking about the Player Series without directly comparing it to the PRS SE Silver Sky. But, and I'm probably going to mention that a couple times. I don't own one. I briefly did, but I've played plenty, so I think I'm at least a little qualified enough to be able to now that this is in my hands, kind of compare the two. So, Mexican Fenders. There is nothing new about them. The Player Series in 2019 came around, and forever you had the American Standard and the Mexican Standard, which is, Strats, Tellys, Jazzmasters, whatever, right? One of the I think there's pretty much 5 or 6 major models Fender makes. And this guy in 2019, they went through and they redid their line. So now, to put it kind of plainly, the cheapest way to get a Fender guitar that says Fender on the headstock is the Player Series. It's their base. They make one of every model, made in their Mexican factory. So this is effectively the Mexican Strat now. What's changed? Because I've played plenty. I actually have a old Mexican standard over there that, God, I think one of the first videos I ever did was about that. I should probably do another one now that I'm thinking about it. What's different? Well, there's actually quite a bit different. Obviously, same headstock. Tuners are different. These tuners are way better than the ones on the old Mexican standard, which I should probably swap out anyways. So the tuners are better. Are they, I mean, they're just Fender branded. They're not locking or anything, but they work fine from what I've seen. I've never personally felt like locking was necessarily like a must have. One thing you would immediately notice, if you have like an old Mexican standard between that and the players, the neck, totally different neck profile. This is a lot more of a C. It fills out your palm a little more than the old Mexican one. Mexican standard used to be really flat, but actually I guess all Fenders in the 90s were like really, really flat, because I have an American one too from 97 that I made a video about, and that is literally the thinnest, tiniest neck I've ever played on any guitar. But this is a much more happy medium as far as neck profiles go. And is it humongous? No, not at all. It's actually still, compared to like any Gibsons you have around or anything, this is going to feel super small. But it fills out your palm nicely, and honestly, I think it's a better neck shape. Frets. The frets are a little less skinny than on the Mexican standard. They're still not gonna be like, you know, as big and thick and chunky as like you would find on a modern guitar. Like I have a PRS that the frets are like super duper chunky compared to this, but these are still chunkier, a little taller than my old Mexican standard. Now, this is what old men on the internet really hate about the Player Fenders. The Player Fenders come with a Pau fretboard instead of a rosewood board on the dark models. Maple's the same, because there's maple, you know, everywhere. But you got to be a little careful. And I think that's one of the perks you get of shopping at Sweetwater, not to sound like a company whore or whatever, just because I'm working with them, but the fact that they photograph every single guitar that they're selling, and you get to go through a little mini gallery of that specific guitar, I think that's like invaluable when it comes to fretboard wood, because Pau, if you get a shitty piece, it can look a little bit like the, you know, you just pulled it out of like a $120 like starter pack with a little 2-watt amplifier kind of a thing. This personally, we are having a cloudy day up here in Detroit today, but I think this piece looks pretty good. Is it as dark and rich as like a crazy good piece of rosewood? No, probably not. But is it close enough? Let me put it this way. Is it close enough for the time being? Like, am I going to lose sleep over it? No, not really. Tremolo system. I never use the tremolo system on the Strat, so I have a little box of like extra trem springs that whenever I get a new Strat in, I just lock that bitch down, because I'm not gonna use it, and it just, I kind of subscribe to Eric Clapton's train of thought, which is that even if I am gonna use it, it would be like 1.5% of the time I'm playing it, and it's just not worth it to lose the tuning stability and to have it always floating. So I just like locking it down. But for those that do use it, you have a 2-point trem instead of your 6 screws, which according to all the, you know, people that make the guitars and the people that use the trem system, makes a more stable experience and a more stable tuning experience, gives it a little more less awkward wiggle room, if that makes sense. Controls are all the same, you know, unchanged since like 54 or 56 or whatever, except for your tone knob. You have the nice modern tone knob that wires to your bridge pickup, which is very nice. I mean, it's a Strat, right? There's nothing new or revolutionary about it. You'll notice I didn't talk about the pickups because of what I mentioned earlier. So when everybody's shooting these out with the SE Silver Sky, for obvious reasons. I think the Silver Sky starts. They just dropped the price on these, like I mentioned, and even without the sale price, it looks like they're floating around like $700 right now, which I think the Silver Sky is just a teeny tiny bit more, at least here in the States. I know it kind of depends where you live, but they're direct competitors, obviously. But I don't think enough people are talking about kind of one of the bigger perks you get about buying a Fender guitar, which is the kind of Lego set nature of them. To draw an analogy, I was a big Subaru guy when I was like in college. I owned a couple Subarus. I'm a big time car guy or whatever, and I had a couple fun Subarus. Everybody referred to those motors, which are boxer motors, as Lego sets, meaning pretty much any part of any Subaru engine will go on any Subaru engine. So you want to make yours faster? Pull the turbo off of this model that you can find in a junkyard and just pop it on this model. It doesn't have to specifically be for that model of car, right? Similar idea. And look, Leo Fender was no dummy. When he designed all these guitars, they're made to be made fast and have parts thrown on and taken off quickly. And that, for manufacturing, gives you obvious benefits as far as saving a ton of money, as opposed to a process of making like a Gibson, which for all the shit they get, like if you look at their factory tour, I don't care what anybody says, making like a Les Paul Studio, just as an example, because there's one dangling right there next to my face, is so many hours of work. This is an obvious benefit for making one of these. But because of the way these are made and the bolt-on nature of the way these are made, not just the neck, but with everything, the parts are interchangeable. So this, and the pickups that come on the Player, there's nothing wrong with them. Alnico 5s, if I remember right, they're a decent pickup. Honestly, what they remind me of a lot is I have a set of Tex-Mex pickups in one of my Strats. It reminds me of a Tex-Mex pickup, and I don't mean this as an insult, but like with a little bit of the balls removed. Like a little more mid-rangey, a little less low end than you get from my Tex-Mex pickups. But, hey, we like to be honest here. These are better. I mean, you can buy for, I think the cheapest Fender pickup swap I ever did was I swapped out, I had an old parts caster that I put a pre-wired pickguard in with 3 single coils. I found some dude was selling a barely used one on Reverb. I bought it for $125, and it was like literally, so if you don't know what a pre-wired pickguard is, again, bolt-on nature. You see all these screws right here? The whole pickguard comes off. You unsolder your ground back here. There's like 2 more points to unsolder, and you have removed all the electronics of the guitar. Well, Fender sells a pre-wired pickguard with all the electronics ready to go. You pop it in, solder 3 things, put your screws back in, and voila, you've changed your entire instrument. So I put and I didn't even own a soldering iron, but with a little bit of YouTube, $125 for a pre-wired, I think it was a set of Texas Specials. It completely changed the guitar. And I mean, world-class sounding Fender guitar that I ended up making a little bit of money on, which was very nice. But man, I think most people overlook that nature of Fender guitars. They play this, they play the Silver Sky, and they go, I like the low end on the Silver Sky more, which seems to actually be a pretty common theme. Well, that's fine, but 5 years from now, you can do whatever you want to change the sound of one of these and the playability of one of these, and you can, dude, if you want to get crazy, you can pull the neck off and put a new neck on if you like the color of it. Like, it's a Lego set. So I guess to kind of sum up, I would take one of these. There's a reason I own a couple I own, how many? I own 2 Mexican Fenders now instead of a Silver Sky. There's nothing wrong with the Silver Sky, but I don't know if in 5 or 10 years they're going to be the more desirable guitar unless they like expand on the swappy outy partsness that Fender's been doing for like 40 years. So me personally, I'm looking right now. Like I said, they have like a little extra cut on them price-wise right now. But Sweetwater has these going for between $680, $700. Dude, that's so good. Like, that's such a good price to have a well-made Fender. And by the way, if anybody shits on Mexican Fenders, they don't know what they're talking about. The Mexican factory has been doing this for like 30 years now. So they're more than qualified to make like a Stratocaster and a Telecaster. They're doing just fine. And the only department that might be lacking in, like when I compared the pickups to like American Tex-Mex pickups and then the ones that came on the Player, it felt like the American ones just had a little bit more balls, which is kind of a common thread. Well, I have wonderful news for you, sweetheart. For $125, if you own a soldering iron, you can just boop, boop, and now you have something that sounds like a Fender custom shop. Like, the people don't talk about the Lego set nature of these enough, and I think it's one of the biggest perks about owning a Fender brand guitar. Any Fender brand neck will fit. Fender brand electronics will fit. You can change the trim. You can do whatever you want. It's a little Lego set. So I think this is going to age way better. I think that, let me put it this way. I don't know if in 10 years PRS is going to be making an S-style guitar that's like identical to this, but I know for a fact that Fender still is. So as far as support goes, part swappability, and longevity, maybe the right word's longevity. As far as longevity goes, I think the Fender Player is still the king of entry-level Fender guitars, Strats, Tellies, whatever. So that's all I got, guys. Sorry if I was a little talkative today. But be sure to, like and subscribe if kind of what I do is your thing. And what else? Follow me on TikTok, follow me on IG. Trying to get the IG moving because, frankly, in, I think, 3 months, TikTok has to either sell or cease operation. So, who knows what's going to be happening with that. And, like I said, if you've been thinking about pulling the trigger on a Fender Player Series Strat, I mean, they come in 8 million different colors. You can really tailor it to what you want. Or if you've been thinking about pulling the trigger on a Twin Reverb Tone Master, which is like my go-to that I always have behind me, legitimately best clean tone out of a solid state amp is it a solid state or modeler? I forget, whatever they're calling it nowadays. But if you're thinking about grabbing one of those amps, I'll pop a link in there as well. But until next time, everybody, take care, and I hope everybody has, well, I guess it's Memorial Day, isn't it? So I hope everybody has a great holiday.